So, I wanted to talk about something very important, and that is how the false light teachings of Jesus or the Christ is something that has been distorted. I truly believe there is a huge false light teaching concerning Jesus that almost every spiritual leader that I love and I really respect, they are carrying the same message forward. And it's literally not what Jesus was talking about when he was here. That false light teaching that I know is a distortion, and I say that I know because I have consulted with my soul. And my soul has told me that the belief that we are not supposed to be politically involved, and we are supposed to make sure that we step back and keep a hands-off approach when it comes to issues of politics or righteousness or protesting or in some way making a real difference through our political system. That belief that if you're spiritual, you're really not over there like that. That is a false light teaching, according to my soul. And so when you have a false light teaching, and I'm gonna break it down because I do have receipts. Think about Jesus. Think about what Jesus said. Jesus wasn't just saying, God is good and whatever the prayer is, the Lord's prayer is. Jesus was living a very politically radical life. He was in the trenches. If you know anything about wise men in the ancient times and ancient days, you had to go to them. You had to get on a donkey, wow, get on a ship, pay lots of money. You had to come to them to hear their wisdom. Jesus said, no, I am going to bring it to you. So that's the first major difference between what these people are saying. It is a political act to feed the hungry. That is a political act. People have passed laws in this country to stop it. It is a political act to feed the hungry. Because you're saying, I don't care what other people say they do or don't deserve. I am going to feed my fellow man. Because there's plenty of food around here. Nobody should be starving. That is a political act. That is why they want you to see the homeless people in the streets. The people in power want you to see the people who have given up on being conventional. They've given up on paying bills and grinding it out. They've given up. They just don't want to be a part of it sometimes. And I've done whole articles about it, and I've read and I've researched. There are some people who literally are traumatized to go behind closed doors. They don't want to be behind closed doors. Maybe they've had very traumatic experiences behind closed doors. And so for whatever reason, this person is now sleeping in the street. They have severe mental illnesses a lot of the time, and they're sleeping in the street because it is so hardcore for them, some of them, to be behind closed doors. Some of them, it is literally and truly a financial thing. They don't know how to get into a place and keep themselves afloat. They don't make the money, or they don't have whatever skill level that takes, that they're not up to it, or they've given up on it. It was too stressful for them. I'm saying all of this to say Jesus understood the nature of human beings. And he understood that you don't just throw your hands up about certain things. If you look at the Christian right in this country, they are obsessed with not paying taxes. When Jesus literally said, give Caesar's things to Caesar's and God things to God. Y'all are not worshiping Jesus, or you all are not honoring Jesus. You're not honoring Jesus if you believe you need to pay the least amount of taxes you possibly can at all costs and whatever. You're not honoring Jesus because Jesus said, give Caesar's things to Caesar's and God's things to God. Now, my soul told me that Jesus really said that because there's stuff in the Bible that are attributed to Jesus that are just, they're distortions and some of it is lies. People just put it in for their political benefit. They put it in for their political benefit. And so if you have Christians running around here acting like Jesus did not feed the sick, Jesus was not feed and heal the poor, if we are supposed to believe that there's no poor people, there's no sick people for Christians to be doing this for. They're gone. Those people have made a decision. Those people have decided they want to not have a home. Those people have decided that they want to live in the dirt, live in the street. That's what they've chosen energetically. And so I'm going to drive by them because the Jesus that I resonate with is the abundance Jesus. The see the fields are white with the harvest Jesus. But Jesus was Jesus. The Christ consciousness was not afraid to tell the religious leaders of his day that you are from your father, the father of the lie. You are offsprings of vipers. You are like whitewashed graves that inside hold the bones of dead men. The rotting bones of dead men, but you're white on the outside. You're a whitewashed grave. That is what Jesus said. And I can tell you right now, the reason why this false light being is participating in this false light teaching is in their own way they are holding progress back. They are holding, we would have been there. We would have been there if the people who are spiritually evolved the way they claim to be understood that some of their teachings are a false light teaching. It is a false light teaching to not care that people are starving because they've chosen it, because they were a vibrational match for it. That is bullshit. It is real. It is real trauma in this country that we can help relieve. We can't cure anybody who doesn't want to be cured, but we can help relieve some of these issues by participating. And I know you don't have a lot to choose from, but some of you are brilliant and you have a cleaner record than I do. You can go out there and stand up and run for these offices that need honest people with integrity in them. I honestly have seen so many very intelligent people fall for being apolitical. I've seen them do it, and it has benefited nobody, not even them. Even if you have your mansion, your 6 figures a month income, you have, all of these things that you have connected to the abundance Jesus to be able to easily obtain or to be able to easily attract in your life. That's wonderful. But there was another Jesus. There was another Jesus. There was another side of the Messiah, the Christ, that was speaking the truth. And the truth sometimes made the religious leaders in his day, made them want to. That is the truth. And that's what all of y'all running away from that. But if you can create your own reality, create a Christ consciousness that can speak for the truth without being So I love and appreciate that there are some people in this country who have, I mean, revealed so much truth and so much knowledge to other people. And they've done it in the spiritual arena. Some of the stuff that y'all are teaching and y'all are supporting 50, 60 years ago, it would have gotten you. It would have gotten you. You weren't filthy rich doing this in your private circles. If you were just out somewhere and people were aware of some of the things that you all are doing or saying, you would have been killed without anybody even feeling bad or going to jail behind me. That's how blasphemous some of the things you all are supporting and some of the things you all teach are. So I'm saying that to say this. Why are you able to say those things and do those things now openly, freely, give this knowledge to others who might be really wanting it? You're able to do that because some people stepped up in politics and made it possible for you to do that. It's because some people protested and people organized and people did things to break down that particular barrier. And now you are safe and you are protected. So you're a beneficiary of something that you're not willing to contribute to. More people would find enlightenment if they think the other people in this country gave a damn. When it is a situation where you can drive past people sleeping on the street and people homeless and hungry, I mean, if your soul can allow you to do that and you don't feel anything, or you've told yourself that these people just deserve this, they have chosen this on a soul level, as y'all like to say. I never heard Jesus say the sick were choosing on a soul level to do this. Now, I did hear him say, your faith has made you healed. But guess what? Jesus was going to them saying it. Jesus was making himself accessible, available, and able to share his abundance. And so the idea that now we are in 2025, another thing that tells me this is a false light teaching, so many of these people were supporters of Donald Trump. How in the world can you call yourself a supporter of Jesus and support Donald Trump? It's because the Jesus y'all talking about is the one-sided mayonnaise Jesus. Jesus was a melanated man. You know how I know Jesus was a melanated man? Because you think about it, where is the European Jesus today or in the last 50 years? I can name several Jesuses that come from the Black community. Whether it's Malcolm or it's Martin or it's the head of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. That's just three. That I haven't even really scratched the surface. These are people who spoke truth. They stood for the truth. And they didn't care who was mad about it. I don't see none of y'all doing that. Because you don't relate to that Jesus, because that is the melanated side of Jesus. That is the part of Jesus who understand what it's like to run for your life when you're born. Any of that sound familiar? And I am not talking about slavery. One of the worst things that Black people can do when it comes to people understanding what the hell is going on is leave slavery out of it. There is stuff going on right now to Black people that everybody knows about. Everybody knows Black people are targeted for higher insurance rates. Everybody knows that Black people have a poorer health outcome than other races. Everybody knows that black people are targeted by the corrupt law enforcement system. Everybody knows it. But we let people walk around like it's normal. And some of you all are participating in that because you believe in the mayonnaise Jesus. You have no idea who the real Jesus was, because when you get to the part where Jesus is talking about people not feeding their fellow brothers, not helping their fellow man, and Jesus is like, I don't know none of y'all. I don't know y'all. None of you are feeding my children. None of you are helping the poor. None of you are being a friend to the widow. None of y'all doing that. I don't know y'all. None of y'all is telling the political leaders of your day, or the figures, the religious figures of your day, that they are lying every single day to their people. When they support being apolitical, when Jesus was not apolitical, it means they are not following Christ, and anybody who's doing it is not following Christ either. You're not. You're not. Obama was a form of the melanated Jesus, because Obama would go in spaces that were purely Republican and tell them to their face they were being hypocrites. Only Obama had the balls to do that, and that is the melanin in him. That is the melanin in him. And I do not want anyone to think I believe that racism cannot be done by a black person. If I am saying something that has been deemed that label, I am genuinely curious. Where is the white modern day Jesus who speaks truth to power? And I'm not talking about speaking soft and sweet like Mr. Rogers. I'm not talking about that. Who's got the fire for the truth in the white community? Who stands up with such an energy for righteousness and with such a zeal for the truth? Who stands up for that in the white community? And it's not presented like they doing a TED Talk. I am being very candid with you all. I'm putting this out here this way. Not because I feed homeless people every day, or I'm out here putting homeless people in their new houses. I do what I can. But the first thing I try to start with is to not judge these people. There, but for the grace of God go I. Because you can be blinded to your own power. You can be blinded to your own abilities. When Jesus was saying the things that he was saying to people, he was tapping into that. He was helping people see that greater works than these will you do. Now think about it. In this country, we have the right to vote for the person who's going to represent us. Do you think the Jews back in that day would have considered that a greater thing? That they could select their representative who was supposed to stand for their community and be the voice for their community? Do you think that wouldn't be considered something that is a huge accomplishment for mankind? I can imagine people in Jesus' day being like, "What? You all choose your own members of government? What?" So for people to act like that is not an accomplishment, and that participating in it is beneath them, when the opposite, not being able to choose your leader, is something every community has gone through that, and it's horrible. They don't have any competition to do any better. So if you were really tapped in, you would see how powerful it is to be able to choose your own representative. And you would make sure that you participate so that not just you're good, but your neighbors are good. What is the scripture? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. How is not being in politics loving your neighbor? When, okay, what law passes or whatever, you're exempt. It doesn't matter to you. Who cares? But what about your neighbor, bruh? What about your neighbor who might not have the opportunities that you've had, the experiences that shaped you to be better? Maybe their experiences were doing the opposite, trying to get them over here to do better, but they couldn't see it at the time. They couldn't see it at the time. So I want this to be taken with a grain of salt and with the love that it is intended to land on your ears with. I understand that we have been taught to believe that oneness means you don't hold people accountable when they're abusing their power. I truly believe when you think about your body, you have parts of your body that are supposed to be working together. They're supposed to be synergetically operating. If you have a situation where a part of your body is inflamed, upset, whatever, a part of your body is going through it, you address it. It's out of sync. It's out of alignment or balance or ease. It's out. So you address it. You address it with love, but you don't act like it's not there. Or if you act like it's not there, you create a situation where you are supporting your body in healing itself out of acknowledgement that, hey, my body is out of whack right now. So if I drink too much sugar, I get achy in my knees. It'll show up in my knees. It'll show up in my joints. I have to leave sugar alone. Not it. In addition to other reasons that I have to leave it alone, I'm paying attention to my body. I know I'm out of alignment if my joints are achy. The same thing applies when something in our community is out of alignment. If it's out of alignment, it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. It has to be brought back into balance. And so I think that I've really landed in this place because it has always bothered me to see people so okay with claiming to love Jesus and to have Christ consciousness while ignoring the parts of Jesus that went off on people. Sometimes you got to go off. Like Kendrick says, sometimes you got to pop out and show niggas. And for our community, we are more likely to be assigned to speak the truth as we know it and to represent righteousness. We're often assigned that for a reason. If we are considered at the bottom in terms of the racial hierarchy, our challenge to you is, why is there a bottom? Why is there a bottom when it comes to races? Energetically speaking, it should only be a bottom if you are vibrationally a match for there. So the fact that the bottom has been defined as something that belongs to Black people, that is out of alignment. That's out of alignment. My default setting as a Black person should not be hardship, should not be a worse life. Not in a society where we can choose our own leadership and we can choose how we want our country to be. That was something we decided to incarnate here together to participate in. If you were not supposed to be participating in the political system of this country, in my opinion, you would have been born in a country where you just had a king and you were good. You just had a king, you were fine with it, you still made your money, you still made your impact. You literally incarnated into a country that requires people to participate in a meaningful way in their political system if they want to see change on a massive scale, not in your own personal life, but on your massive scale. And so, again, it comes back to the love your neighbor, love yourself. That is a Jesus I resonate with. That is a Jesus that millions of people resonate with. But for so many of the Christ conscious and the Christian population, that is not, that's not, y'all are not soaking it in. Y'all are not really understanding what that means. I hope that this video, even if you agree, if you disagree with it, please put it in the comment section. I would love to hear your perspective. If you think that this is something that's totally out the mark, I would love for you to put something in the comment section about it. But honestly and truly, at this point, when my soul tells me something, that's what I'm going to go by. I challenge you, if you know how to speak to your soul, speak to your soul and ask your soul if this message resonates with you. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. But guess what? I know that there are people out there who resonate with what I have to say right now. I know that. I am not a unicorn. I know there are people who understand exactly what I'm talking about. And if you've been a member of the spiritual community and you know what I'm talking about, please leave a comment. It is so ass backwards out here. All right. Thank you all so much for giving this a listen. Please like and subscribe if you like to.